Hey guys, I'm back for another tutorial. Today we are going to be reviewing two of the tabs over here to the left, the Optimizer page and the My Lineups page. So first with the Optimizer page, just a quick review on all the data, what it means, the different settings and features you can use to manually build your lineups. And then for the My Lineups page, we will review all the different ways you can sort, filter, and analyze your lineups once they are built. So if we come back here, first just a quick recap on the data that's available in each column, what it can be used for, what they mean. So first from left to right, you have the three symbols over here. This one is for favoriting. Any player you favorite immediately goes to the top. And then you have a lock button that just puts the player in 100% of the lineups. It locks them into your runs. And then you also have an exclude button. So if you don't want them in any, then they can be excluded. Okay. So after that, player name, position, opponent, salary, what the projection is for the slate. Team total, this is Vegas over-under odds. So this is Cincinnati is expected to score 30.25 according to Vegas. Depth chart, where they are in the depth chart for their team. What's the chances that they score a touchdown? What is their ownership, projected ownership percentage? So this might be the most important column for the GPP tournaments. Then here is just their floor scoring and their ceiling scoring, and that's just based off of recent performances. You also have variance, value, and exposure. Value is pretty self-explanatory. It's just how many points per $1,000 of salary. And then exposure is how much percentage of the lineups do you want these players to appear in. But if we go back to variance, variance is a multiplier. It's just for a boom bust randomness. So if you want there to be more randomness, you 2x it, and you can see his floor and ceiling change from 5 to 55.3. And if you don't want a lot of randomness, then you can do 23 to 29. All right, now that's just for the engine based off of what you're building when you click generate lineups. It either tightens their projections or it increases the projection range. But or you can leave it as is, and it's just the regular 25.5 projection with the floor to ceiling ratio here. All right, but right above this, we have, search players or teams. Then you can do quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, or defense. You can also sort by a specific team. Okay. All the way to the right, global max exposure. This is across the board. If you do not want any player to be above a specific percentage, this is where you would change it. So let's say no player can be above 60% of the lineups. This is where you would change it. And then as you can see here, you have a quick summary of changes, if there's any changes. And you can reset all to get that back to the default. Template and upload. Let's say you wanted to do custom projections, which you can do individually here in the projection column. Just click into it and you can change it to any projection you want. Or if maybe you have another platform's projections that you'd like to use, you can do a mass upload. So you click this, download the CSV template, then just put the other projections into that template and then upload it here. Save it and upload it back in, and it automatically updates all these projections. So you can use your own custom projections. Above this, we have slate drop downs. So every week this is going to change based off of what slates are available for DraftKings and FanDuel. So right now we just have Sunday main slate and Monday Night Football because this is just showing old data from last year. And then you also have DraftKings and FanDuel here. So for those of you that are just starting off with DFS, DraftKings, and FanDuel, they do have different settings, different scoring system involved. So you will have to use either or platform if you're, depending on which app you are using. So it's not totally different, but it is slightly different. For example, FanDuel has a $60,000 cap, so their salaries are usually higher. They do have a little bit different scoring, so projections are going to be a little bit different. For the testing here, it's probably the same, but for regular season, it's going to be very slightly different. But we'll do DraftKings right just now, just for testing. And then over here, you can change the lineups. If you're premium, you can do up to 25,000. And then if you're a premium, you also have the AI chat, which is in another tutorial video if you guys want to go check that out. But if we click generate lineups, let's say we reviewed all the data, you have an idea of what you want, you set some exposure or some excludes, includes, maybe change some projections, you can click generate lineups. Now this gives you 3 different optimization targets methods that you can use to run your lineups. The first one is projections, and that's just based off of takes projections at face value. So it's better for single entry games or cash games. And essentially, if you're looking to get the most accurate most often, this is what it's going to be used for. But it's not necessarily beneficial for GPP tournaments, for big tournaments that have 20 entry lineups or 150 entry lineups. That one you want to try to be more contrarian. So for those, you would want to probably choose tournament EV, because what this does, there's 3 different sections, and it's just different calculation method based off of leverage and low ownership. So it's going to try to find the value players, the ones that are low owned, the ones that have a higher value based off the $1,000 salary column that we saw earlier. And it's going to really create lineups based around those players. So it's going to fade chalk players. In this case, in this week, Cincinnati was a chalk play because they had such a high over-under for scoring that a lot of the lineups were hitting Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Chase Brown, Joe Burrow, that stack. But if everybody's playing that stack, what advantage does that give you, right? So this kind of does the opposite. This will take, all right, well, what if that game doesn't do good? Or what if there's other games that do just as well? But their players are low owned. So this is what that is going to provide for you. My favorite is ceiling weighted EV. Prioritizes upside and punishes chalk. That's my go-to. Besides that, you also have the Monte Carlo win rate. I do love the Monte Carlo win rate for like a data analysis purpose. You can use it. You can run the lineups, and obviously you can use those lineups if you want to. But just to give a brief background of what Monte Carlo win rate actually means, Saturdays and Sunday mornings, we simulate contests. So we have generated lineups. We have the projections in for all the players, right? And we want to generate and simulate what would happen in different outcomes of the games. So, for example, a good way to explain it is, let's look at Derrick Henry. Maybe Derrick Henry is more of a consistent running back. Every week he scores around 20 points. Maybe 1 week he scores 22, 1 week he scores 18, but it's always around 20. So his standard deviation week to week is, plus minus 2. So not that big of a range. But then you look at somebody like AJ Brown, who was a great example last year, where he had 0 points 1 week, and then a few weeks later he had like 40. Right? So he'll get 0, he could get 8, he could get 20, he could get 40, 30. Like his range of outcomes is so wide, his standard deviation is like plus or minus 20. So what the Monte Carlo win rate does is it simulates all those outcomes. It simulates AJ Brown scoring 40, and then it'll simulate him scoring 0. And it does that for every single player. and it's all based off of the Vegas odds for all the players and all their over-unders for the games. And if they think the game's going to be a shootout or a rush or a run game, the different formats, you know, whether away game, home game, all that stuff, division rivalry, all that thing, all of that goes into the simulations. And then we do thousands and thousands and thousands of simulations. And what it does at the end is it ranks the players. It says who finished in the top lineups the most, and it's going to rank those players. And that's what the engine is going to try to build the lineups around, whichever players are ranked the highest. So that's what the Monte Carlo win rate does. When you click this, it's going to run lineups based off of those rankings. All right, so it's definitely a cool tool to use. Depending on the way the week goes, if there's one game that's like super high scoring, projected to be a high scoring game, those players are most likely going to be the highest ranked in the Monte Carlo win rate. But if you do have a week where everybody's kind of around the same, that's where the Monte Carlo win rate really is effective, because it's not just taking the highest scoring team and, you know, hammering Cincinnati because they're the highest scoring team of the week. It's going to take different variations and different outcomes of that. So it's definitely a cool optimization target that you can use. I love it. I use it to at least analyze my data to see, you know, what the projections and the standard deviations and the simulations give us. Besides that, if you scroll down here, you can redo the lineups again if you want here. As you can see, premium member, you can get up to 25,000. Minimum unique players between lineups, self-explanatory. If you want unique lineups, you probably want this to be higher. But if you don't care, if you only, you know, if you want similar lineups, then you want to be like a 1 or 2. You can also have ownership ceiling. And this is kind of like a manual way of not having high ownership players on your team, but you can type in whatever you want and it caps the total of the ownership for the lineups. And you can also have team stacking. So for team stacking, it's always going to stack the quarterback with one of the skill players. So for example, let's do the Giants. Let's say we want to stack 50% of the Giants. So I'll say right there, 75 out of 150 lineups will be the Giants stack with Dart. You can do exactly, which means exactly 75, or you could do at least, which means it could be higher than 75. And then you can choose who do you want to stack them with, up to 4 players. You want to stack them Wan'Dale Robinson. All right, well, how much percentage of those 75 lineups do you want Wan'Dale to be in? You can choose that as well. And then you can have bring back players. Now, technically, a bring back player is someone from the opposing team. In this case, it says it's Las Vegas. But for this tool, I opened it up to anybody that you want. So if you wanted to bring in any other player, like, you know, Jamar Chase or Jackson Smith and Jigba, you can do that. Trey McBride. Or if you wanted to focus just on, you know, a Las Vegas player, because that is technically a bring back, you can, you know, select Ashton Genty, and then it gives you the same option of percentage. And then if you can either exclude Las Vegas defense or you can keep them. That's up to you. And then you can do multiple stacks. You can stack another team if you want, and you have 50% of the lineups remaining for that stack. So you can stack as many teams as you want, up to 100%. And then down here is just a quick summary of what you're about to run. So if you want to do a refresh and make sure you have the right settings and everything before you click generate. Right, so that is a quick overview of the optimizer page. And then what happens is once you do click generate lineups, it brings you right to your My Lineups page. Now, as you can see, I do have lineups that were already generated here. And just to give you a quick recap on this page, this is where your analysis is going to happen. This is where you're going to choose, all right, which lineups am I actually submitting to DraftKings or to FanDuel? And this is just the regular row and column format. I personally like to do the stacked format just because this is what you actually see in the DraftKings tool, and when you're on your phone and you're looking, this is the view. So I do like this view. And then you can review players, teams, and games. You can search. You can look by QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense. You can sort by that. And what this is going to show you, it's just going to give you a quick glimpse of how many lineups each player's in, and then their exposure. So Jamar Chase is in 26% of the lineups. And if you wanted to see those 39 lineups here, well, just click View Lineups and it brings you right here. You can see what the lineups are that he's exposed to. Go back, brings you back here, and you can do the same thing for teams. So, like I said, Cincinnati was a high-scoring game this week, so I'm not surprised that they're in 60% of the lineups. And then again, you can click here if you want to see what those lineups look like, and you can do games, which is Arizona, Cincinnati, 87.3%. And then you can also do player combos. So if you did do a stack, right, this is where you would check it. You can do all player combos. So this is just any game, any player, any sort of combination. As you can see, it's a cross game. So Gentry and Jamar Chase are in 9 lineups. Baker Mayfield, Jamar Chase are in 9 lineups. So this just gives you an idea, and you can do different size. So is there any 3-player, 4, 5? So there's actually a few 5-player lineups. And then same team. There's no 5-player lineups from the same team combo, but there is from the same game, probably the high-scoring game. Yeah. And then you can also do team stacks. And it just goes by stack size. Now stack should be the quarterback. And then stack combos. So this is actual stacks. Sorry, this is just that was just team stacks. This is actual stacks. So this is quarterback with a player and a bring back. And then another thing to know is up here you can quickly edit if you want. Like let's say you're running every single optimization target and you want to keep track of which one is which. Well, this one was the projection lineup. And then the next time you run a ceiling weighted, and then the next time you run Monte Carlo, every run shows up here. So you can keep going back to each run and reviewing, what the previous run was showing. And then if you do FanDuel as well, you would just click on this FanDuel and it would come right up. All right. And then once you're done, you can come over here to export. And when you export the CSV, it's going to give you every single lineup in the table view. And it's going to include the player IDs, the unique identifiers that you need to upload directly into DraftKings or FanDuel. So normally when you upload to DraftKings and you do a mass upload, you have to download a file from them first, and it gives you their format and the tournaments that you're, submitted to. And then you could copy and paste our file right into theirs and upload their file back into DraftKings. So super easy. You can export it right there. It's a nice feature, so you don't have to go, manually looking for the player IDs and figuring that out. But this is just a quick overview of the My Lineups and the Optimizer page. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out on any one of my social media accounts, or you can even reach out here on the support page. I'll be more than happy to help, and look out for more tutorials to come. Thanks, guys.